Hello folks, welcome to the Grey Area. In this episode we discuss how I am personally hacking the pandemic, and hacking I mean in quotes. In essence what I mean is how I am building myself through the pandemic. Welcome. In these particular episodes I will discuss and share with you the tricks that I'm currently using to strengthen myself and build my skills during this time of lockdown and social distancing. Perhaps through my sharing with you, you'll get a few tricks which you can use by yourself to help you also strengthen your own habits and strengthen your own skills. I intend to make this a series, so in this particular episode, I will only discuss the habits that I'm strengthening. There are a few other episodes, perhaps 5 or 6, which I will discuss other things that I'm doing during this pandemic. In this particular chapter, I discuss the habits that I'm strengthening. The first habit that I'm strengthening is trying to keep time. Timekeeping has always been a challenge sometimes. At times it's a matter of just being lethargic or just being lazy, or just delaying sometimes with no good reason for my delay for that matter. Sometimes I take on quite a number of things to achieve in a day, and I find that I have perhaps bitten more than I can chew. And sometimes I just get caught up with other things in life. Perhaps I get caught up in traffic, or I get caught up in queues. So in this particular period, I've been looking for ways to enable me to keep time. One of the things that I have been doing is a trick that I learned from Atomic Habits, and it's called priming your environment. In priming your environment, what the book recommends is that you prepare your environment for the next task that you seek to achieve. What I mean in essence is, for example, that I will prepare my clothes for the next day the night before. That includes cleaning my shoes on the night before the next day, just to make sure that the next day I don't take time still ironing clothes or cleaning my shoes or whatever garment I will be using for the next day. I don't spend that time preparing for that day while that day has already started. And this has enabled me to actually try and save some minutes before I leave my house for a meeting or class or a wardrobe. And I've found that it has helped me in some way to keep time. I'm still yet to get there, but it's baby steps, but I can say that's one of the tricks that I've learned to help me keep time. The other aspect that has enabled me to keep time is planning for my day ahead. And one of the ways that I get to do that is by using a productivity planner. I'll put a link to one of my videos where I describe how to use a productivity planner to your advantage. And that's one of the tools that I found very useful in enabling me to keep time. The other thing that I have realized or I have been using to try and keep time is to have like one task of the day, or what we call a highlight of the day. And what having a highlight of the day enables me to do is it keeps me accountable for one highlight. I have that one highlight that I want to achieve at the end of the day. So therefore, when sometimes I get caught up by very many tasks of the day, I still do not feel like I have lost time, or I don't feel like I have to rush myself, because I have this one task that I have to achieve. And if I do achieve that one task, then I count that day as being productive. The other trick that I learned is using the Pomodoro technique, which essentially is using having breaks after 25 minutes for a task. It might not work for every task, but it helps me to keep track of time, of how much time I have spent on a particular task. The other habit that I'm looking to strengthen is waking up early or joining the 5 a.m. club. And I'm particularly a morning person, and I enjoy waking up in the morning. I find myself very creative in the morning, and whatever I'm reading in the morning tends to stick better than whatever else I read in the later part of the day. So I have purposed to every day wake up at 5 a.m., which has given me a head start on my day. This is a particular aspect of my life that I came across. Well, I had been doing it way before I came across it in a book by Robin Sharma, and the book is called Lessons Learned from the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And what he recommends is, first of all, wake up early in the morning. It gives you a head start to the day. But really, again, there's a kick in the good juices or hormones that enable your creativity and your brain to act better or function better in the early hours of the day. So that's one book that I would recommend. But I know he wrote another book, The 5 a.m. Club, that I'm yet to read. And in that book, he recommends waking up at 5 a.m. I'm yet to cover the whole book because I don't understand how you talk about waking up at 5 a.m. in a whole book. So perhaps after I've read that book, I'll be able to share with you the insights from that book. But the point is, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. and it gives me like 2 hours or 3 hours before the rest of the world wakes up, and I'm able to cover some tasks and catch up on my day or get a head start on my day before the rest of the day. What is important, again, a lesson that I learned from the life lessons from a monk who sold his Ferrari, is that it's not so much about the amount of sleep, but the quality of sleep. So under waking up at 5 a.m., I have also purposed to make sure that I have a good night's sleep. And this has taken me down an avenue of always endeavoring to practice what we call sleep hygiene. And under sleep hygiene, there are a few tricks here and there. One, do not take caffeinated drinks late in the afternoon or in the evening. That interferes with your sleep. The other thing is use your bed only for sleeping. Don't carry your work to bed, and don't, for example, play video games from bed. Don't use your phone from the bed. That interferes with your sleeping. And the other thing is have a shutting down routine. In the evenings, always try and have that one activity that kind of primes your brain or sends a signal to your brain that you're slowly shutting down your day. What I personally do is I try and read a fictional book, and also not a too exciting fictional book, because that gets me thinking throughout the night about the story and things like that. So that's why I read a fictional book, but a book that is not too exciting. The third thing that I've been doing to get ahead of the pandemic is I've been exercising. I have not been a very big fan of exercising, not until like about a year ago, where I signed up to a gym and started working out, but I can't quite say I got into the routine of it, also because of a hectic lifestyle, that is being in school and working at the same time, and those seem to collide with my exercise routine. However, I went a step further and kind of formed an accountability team or an accountability group of 3 people. So myself and 2 friends, and we get to run 10 kilometers every Saturday. And I try and at least squeeze in another 5 kilometers during the week, maybe twice, but so far I've only done maybe once a week, the 5 kilometers, and that has kept me going. One of the things that I can say I've realized from the accountability group is that it has enabled me to keep a regular schedule of exercising. So the most I have, since I started running the 10 kilometers with these friends of mine, the most I have missed is only 2 weeks. After missing the 2 weeks, I really felt the effect of missing the 2 weeks routine of exercising. And that kind of pushed me further to make sure that I regularly exercise so that I don't lose my fitness. I'm proud to say that I'm able to run 10 kilometers in under an hour, something that I never thought I'd be able to do, but right now I can say that I run 10 kilometers under an hour. The other thing that the accountability tool accountability team does is that it kind of pushes you to run faster or push yourself to the edges of to the limits of your physical strength. Now the 3 of us are all male colleagues or male friends, and then I might say that all of us have a big ego. So what that does is that when we are running, none of us ever wants to stay behind too far, and slowly that has improved our running speed. We are using our egos as a tool to enable us to always perform better and push ourselves harder to achieve a better exercise routine and achieve better timing for our running routine. Finally, one of the last habit that I've been trying to strengthen is my reading. I love reading, however, a busy life and just being caught up with life sometimes does not enable me to read as many books as I wish to, or I'd hope to. So I have put up some structures to help me read better. One of the things that I have done is that I read multiple books at a time. So you'd find that sometimes, most of the times, I'll have a fictional book I'm reading, a non-fictional book I'm reading, and then you'll find that sometimes I also have a subscription to a magazine that I'm also reading, or a blog that I'm also reading. So having a multifaceted approach to that helps me read even further. The other thing that I do that has enabled me to read a bit more is writing book reviews. I love writing too, but again, I don't get to write as often as I'd wish to. But reading and writing has enabled me to kind of feed one habit into the other. So as I read, I write, and as I write, I read further, because I need to create more content to write. And as I write, I also get to read, and hopefully I get to grow in my language. I subscribed to Kindle, and now I have a Kindle app on my iPad that I use to read. So sometimes I'm not able to carry around my books, my physical books, but at least I can follow, or rather track my reading on my phone or on my tablet. And that has given me liberty to read a bit more, because there are times when you get short periods of free time. For example, when I'm in the banking hall waiting for services, for example, or whatever, I'm in a queue somewhere waiting for some services, then at that time I can take advantage of that waiting time and get to read a book using my phone or my tablet. And that has enabled me to cover a lot more books. So there you have it, folks. Those are the 4 things that I'm currently working on, habits that I'm currently working on to strengthen myself. The habits are keeping time, waking up early, that's at 5 a.m., exercising, and reading. I hope you find the tips that I've given you helpful, and you get to use the tips yourself in your experience as you try and combat this pandemic. That is it from me, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.